Hi, so I'm a therapist. I live in London and I deal a lot with issues around parenting. But I also have a unique situation in terms of having a biological child who's just turned 7 and an adopted child who's 3.5, who I adopted a year and a half ago. So the reason I set up this channel and I thought I would do these videos is because I have read a lot, I've studied a lot, and of course I've got so much first-hand experience of being an adoptive mum and being part of an adoptive family. And the one thing that is becoming, I think maybe I was always aware of it a bit, but it is becoming increasingly obvious to me that parenting my older girl, who's came out of my body, who was breastfed, who had me all to herself, who never had anything happen to her ever because mummy was there, and parenting a little girl who obviously has quite a traumatic past, because very rarely now is there an adoption case in the UK in which there isn't some sort of trauma in the past. So what I'm finding is parenting these two girls with such a different start in life is interesting, but also I parent them differently. One has completely different needs from the other, and I try to be fair, but I'm not always equal. So in some way, sometimes it worries me, but in some ways I'm actually harder and tougher on my adopted daughter than I am on my biological, because things just work better with her than they do with the other. And it's not a favoritism thing at all. It's just simply one needs much firmer and clearer boundaries than the other does. The biological one, just gets empathy. You know, if I just look at her slightly cross or expecting, she immediately feels bad about that. You know, she wants to please me or do the right thing. Whereas my adoptive daughter, she just looks at you in this sort of slightly curious way as to, like, well, what's she going to do next? So, you know, just something very subtle I could do with one is completely lost on the other. So yes, there's definitely a lot of parenting that goes on in a very different way between the two, but it's so important that they see it as equal and they see it as fair. But I can definitely say from my point of view, I am doing different methods and trying different things. So that's why I decided to set up these videos. I want to help people who are thinking about adopting come to a decision about whether they do. I also want to help the people who then decide to adopt to know what they're getting in for. And I want people who have adopted to have somewhere to go to get tips and advice, because once you've adopted, to be honest, in my experience, you're sort of on your own. I think 1 or 2 calls afterwards to check how we were doing, but really I feel that once you're out of the process, you are on your own. So I really do hope these videos help everyone out there and are really useful to you. And I did see a hashtag saying adoption is hard. Adoption is hard. Parenting is hard, whether it's biological or adopted children. But adoption has got a whole layer on top that biological parents know nothing about. And actually sometimes as an adopted mother, you know, when people say, oh, I know what you mean, you want to say, you don't know what I mean, you really don't know. But of course you can't say that, so you just have to smile and pretend that yes, they do know, but they really don't know.